Coverage continues. A statement on his website saying that Breitbart died suddenly of natural causes at his home in Los Angeles just after midnight Pacific Coast time. He was an author and regular commentator for the Washington Times and an outspoken critic of the mainstream media, and was known for his efforts at exposing government corruption and media bias. And Breitbart carried a bright torch through his life each and every day.
Moving tributes from several of his friends this morning. Greg Gutfeld, Tucker Carlson, Jonah Goldberg. Breitbart was behind a family that was known to all of those people and thought of so warmly. His wife, Susie, and his 4 young children left behind, and they will feel his loss in the most painful way today. Sean Hannity joins me now by phone. Sean, welcome. Shocking news this morning.
Yeah, very, very shocking, Martha. You know, and I was pretty close friends with Andrew, and you know, the one thing that I can tell you about him, I mean, he knew only one speed in his life, and he was going tirelessly 24/7 with, you know, big government, big Hollywood, big journalism, giving speeches. I think that motivated him more than any sense of urgency that the country really headed in the wrong direction, and he lived this. He didn't sleep very much. I know he did have some heart issues involved about a year ago, and I know we don't have the details of this, but he did have some issues, health issues that I think, frankly, were attributed to his lifestyle, because he lived, you know, his principles out every single day, 24/7. And what you saw is what you got: a champion of freedom, a guy that really more than anything else wanted to see America get back on the right course. I know it was his passion. He wanted to do it for his country, his kids, his family, and it's a tragic loss.
Yeah. I mean, he spent a lot of his time kind of trying to smoke out from behind the bushes things that he thought were corrupt, or people that he thought were being hypocritical in the way that they were presenting themselves. And, you know, some of the stories that he worked on over the past year or so, the Shirley Sherrod story and Anthony Weiner, you know, a number of these big issues, these big stories that came up over the year may be things that people will now remember to identify with him if they're not as familiar with his personal work.
You know, he was fearless, and one of the things that I would ask him every once in a while, because if there was some type of left-wing convention going on or an Occupy movement going on, you know, Andrew loved nothing more than to go down there with a camera, confront them, challenge them on their ideas, on the words that they would say, on their hypocrisy, and literally throw himself in the middle of it. And where a lot of people would say, you know, that's the last place I want to be, Andrew was like, he enjoyed nothing more than being in the middle of it, because he felt that this was something that he was compelled to do. This was in his heart, this was in his soul. And knowing him as well as I did behind the scenes, you know, he lived this out. This is what his passion was. And in that sense, he was always going to be in the middle of a fight, because he felt this was worth fighting for. And if there is one thing, you're right, Martha, that he really disliked, it was this hypocrisy that does exist, a double standard that does exist, where if you're on the left, you can say all types of incendiary things and it never gets noticed. But if you're conservative and you say one word, phrase, or sentence that is deemed politically incorrect, you're going to be excoriated, and the left will make every attempt to kind of silence your voice. So it was a real passion, I can tell you, behind the scenes. This was him. This is how he lived, and this is what he cared the most about.
And he was sometimes at odds with other conservatives, of course, as, you know, any members of any sort of philosophical group are. He was very supportive of the gay community within the Republican Party and wanted to make sure they had a presence at CPAC. That was problematic for him at one point, but, you know, as we're saying, it was true to who he was in terms of fervently pursuing his line of thinking on any given thing. He was definitely true to himself.
You know, it's funny, and I won't give specific stories because they were kind of in private, but there were times where he and I, and it wasn't about that issue, but it was about certain stylistic issues, about, you know, the best way that I thought that he could, you know, accomplish his goals. And if we had just passionate discussions back and forth, either on the phone or on email or instant message exchanges. And the thing is in the end, you know, I just realized that I had a good friend, and I always just admired the fact that he cared so much about all of these things. You know, he's going to be greatly missed. I know it's got to be devastating to his wife and kids, and so many people loved and admired him. I mean, there's one thing that I think people are looking for in troubled times, and these, for many Americans that are not working, for the 47 million Americans in poverty, these are very troubled times. And I think what people were looking for and why they gravitated to Andrew and admired him so much is because Andrew took no prisoners. Andrew, he didn't have a governor. He didn't have a shut-off valve. Andrew was up 20 hours a day working. He lived this out. People knew it, understood it. Those that followed him on Twitter know exactly what I'm talking about. He'd be in battling late into the night, and with either people he agreed with or disagreed with, and he never backed down from a fight. And so he had a level of courage that is really almost unmatched today in media. And he took all the shots coming his way, and he took it with great stride.
Sean, thank you very much for sharing your thoughts with us this morning.
His family is in our prayers today. I know he's got 4 young kids and his wife, and I know they're devastated today, as are many conservatives.
And so many of his friends, and thank you as one of them for joining us this morning, Sean. We'll see you soon. Thanks a lot.